YouTube, as NFT project founders and builders in the Web3 space, it is our responsibility to make sure that we are up to date with the latest market movements, the tectonic plates of the Web3 space, so we can make sure that we are up to date with the latest strategies, that there's no threat that could possibly knock us out of the game, or number three, that there's opportunities that we can take advantage of. In today's market update, I am joined by my COO, Chief Operation Officer, Charbel, aka Crypto Kermit. Most probably one of the smartest guys I've met in the NFT space. This guy can sell out any NFT collection. So with that said, Crypto Kermit, my man, always happy to have you on. I know 2023 has started on as very exciting, and I would love to hear what have been the latest market updates.
First and foremost, I love that term you use, the tectonic plates of Web3. All right, I'm going to start using that more often in my market updates. So as we dive in, really, like you mentioned, there's a lot that's been going on. It hasn't been 12 days into 2023, and there's already a lot that is going on in the market. So let's just head right in. Firstly, that's been coming on my radar a lot recently is Polygon and major and significant changes that are coming onto this blockchain. So number one over here, what I found interesting was the number of transactions per day happening on this blockchain. They're almost more than double Ethereum's. So Ethereum is here on the blue, Polygon is here in yellow. Obviously here you can see Solana being Solana, just crazy all over the place, going up and up more and more every day. So I think it's interesting. We're starting to see a lot more activity on Polygon. Over here, we can also see an emerging blockchain, Arbitrum, also start to pick up very fast. So over the past year, Arbitrum has started to, it's almost halfway through to the number of transactions Ethereum is seeing on its blockchains. So I think it'll be very interesting watching these two guys, Polygon and Arbitrum, perform in 2023. Also, another thing that I found interesting is the number of people onboarding Polygon, especially. And when you look at the total number of new addresses registered or registering on Polygon, it rivals that of Solana. In fact, on many occasions over the past year, especially over the past month or two, even the past 2 quarters, Polygon has seen some of the highest number of newcomers in the space. And over here, we can see it's battling it out with Solana over the number one spot. We can also see how much these two blockchains are dwarfing Ethereum when it comes to adoption and newcomers in the space. So this is, for example, I think I should have left out Solana. It was sort of hard to scrape its total number. Arbitrum, I think I could have left it out for now as well, since it's still very new. It's not as old and mature as Polygon and Ethereum, but we can see how much Polygon is almost passing Ethereum in terms of total number of addresses on its blockchain.
That's impressive, that climb that Polygon is doing.
It's very impressive. You can see over here, over a year ago, it was practically unheard of. Well, a year and a half ago, it was practically still new. And then you can start to see how fast that number is growing, especially compared to Ethereum. I definitely think we're going to see the takeover happen in 2023. As we can see, Polygon is definitely starting to see mass adoption. Now, a question that may come to mind is why? Why are we all of a sudden seeing Polygon increase in numbers, transactions, volume, users, number of users? And there's been a lot happening on Polygon. The Polygon biz team is definitely busy right now, scoring partnerships, scoring collaborations left and right. So firstly, we've seen a big wave of new users come from Reddit NFTs. I'm sure they were all over the market, right? If you open Twitter in the past 3 months, I'm sure you've heard of Reddit NFTs. One surprising fact about Reddit NFTs is Reddit alone in its first month managed to onboard more users into the blockchain than OpenSea ever has. So I think this is a major part why we started seeing this growth ramp up all of a sudden, from slowly starting to plateau to all of a sudden go back upwards sharply. But I'm sure everyone has also heard of if you were in the NFT space in the past month. And recently, we've heard of youths announcing to their holders that they'll be moving on to Polygon. So I think Polygon will definitely see a lot of interesting NFT activity in 2023, a lot of new things coming to Polygon, and I'm sure a lot of new projects are going to start considering launching on Polygon following Yutz's announcement. Besides that, I mean, Polygon, as I've mentioned, they're making killer collaborations. They're landing killer deals with major businesses, major Fortune 500 businesses. So we can see DraftKings, Nothing, Stripe, obviously Reddit, Walt Disney, Adidas, the NFL, Starbucks. That's also something maybe a lot of people have heard of. Adobe and Meta is using Polygon for all of its mints.
While we're on this subject, Kermit, good question. So as we can notice, the majority of brands that are hopping on the Polygon train happen to be Fortune 500 companies. The way I'm trying to think about it is, as a project founder, what would be a project that would fit within the Polygon meta versus launching on, for instance, Ethereum or Solana or all the other blockchains that exist? So what would constitute as a Polygon product or Polygon project, more specifically, that project founders can build pretty much on that chain?
The thing is, to identify a user base that is specific to Polygon right now, I think is difficult. The main reason is because we haven't seen enough case studies who's into Polygon, right? What kind of projects would perform best in Polygon? That is very, very good question. And I think it's something we're definitely going to be, well, I'm personally going to be monitoring. I think we both are. And it's something I'll definitely keep an eye out on. I think as youths move and as we start seeing more and more projects onboard Polygon, we're going to start to get much better understanding on what kind of project performs well and what kind of audience will be looking for Polygon. Will it be the same audience as Solana, for example, which tends to be a lot younger, right? Solana has a lot of Gen Zs, whereas Ethereum has a lot more millennials and Gen Xers.
Well, the way it's positioning itself, I think Polygon is going to be the normies chain, so the normal people's chains. And I see things evolving. It seems like Polygon is going to be the types of projects that will fit Polygon are the ones that fit for mass market adoption, more specifically to our non-technical users. So let's say, for instance, you are to launch, some royalty program for your Web2 business, for your coffee shop. Polygon would be the move because most people, due to all those big Fortune 500 companies joining the space, will have a Polygon wallet on their phone, or will get exposed within the next couple months or years to the Polygon chain. Like, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if the future Supreme clothing brand of Web3 is going to be Polygon native, because this is a everyone brand, versus the more technical tools that we see with Nansen, all those things. Those will be more technical for the Ethereum or even the Solana.
Yeah, I mean, for now, I can definitely say that the brands that are onboarding Polygon are doing it more so for an affordability and scalability, mainly. When users can afford something, all of a sudden you can scale it a lot more. So seeing mass adoption go through Polygon, I definitely think we'll be seeing a lot more loyalty-based programs and a lot more brands experiment, especially with that technology.
Super. So up next we have generative art. I know this is one of the subjects that you yourself are very passionate about. So I'd love to hear what are the latest market movements on that front.
So generative art, definitely something I've had my eyes on over the past quarter. I think last video we made, last market update we were talking about how generative art was performing well at the time. And let me tell you, it has not deceived. It has had no shortage pumping, let's put it that way. So I think last time we did our market update, it was around here. So Gen Art had started climbing up and it started finding its plateau, its top. Let's say resistance. By the way, for anyone who's not aware of this tool, who's not familiar with this tool, this is Nansen's NFT index. What it shows you is sort of if you had invested $1,000 in January 2022 into different subgenres of NFTs like Metaverse, art-related NFTs, GameFi NFTs, where would your $1,000 be today? We can see gaming would be at the bottom, the absolute bottom, followed by Metaverse, and we can see art is what's been performing best over any other subgenres of NFTs, right? right? So since we've met, art NFTs have continued, have, slowly taken a break and then continued to rally upwards, and they still hold the #1 spot for best performing asset in terms of NFT.
Up 5% pretty much since the beginning of the year, which is a lot more competitive than the S&P 500.
It's a good comparison. It's a lot better than the S&P. And yeah, it depends on exactly when you've made the purchase and what purchase you've made. Generally, from someone who is also part of the market, we've seen a lot of collections pick up, generative art collections pick up, especially over the last 2 months. So what I was going to show right now was basically, so if you go on the top 10 collections on OpenSea and you look at these top 10 collections, right? You see Friendship Bracelets by Alexis Andre and Snowfro. Among the top 10, this NFT in particular has performed very, very well in the past 2 months. I think it started out at 0.05 Ethereum floor price. It went up to, I think when we were doing the video, it was at 0.1 or 0.2. And now it's a month later, it's also 3x. So it's at 0.6, claiming has basically ended. So no more Friendship Bracelets can be claimed anymore. I think this is why we've also seen a recent pump on that collection. And it's more of a collector's item. It's a good entry for anyone looking to collect art blocks, which is why I think a lot of people have been after this collection. Even if we keep scrolling down the list, I mean, there's Terraforms by Math Castles, Chromie Squiggle by Snowfro, which is the absolute OG collection, the collection that inaugurated art blocks, that put art blocks on a lot of people's radar as well.
If we go back to the previous slide, please, one observation I have that's interesting is on pretty much 20% of all actually no more, 30%. So we have Mutant, Trump, and Friendship Bracelets. 30% of the top 10 collections, so 3 out of 10, have a collection size of 20K or more, which is interesting. This is not something we used to see back a couple months ago, but now all of a sudden we're seeing the introduction of larger collections.
That is true. I mean, Mutant Apes, so these have, I think, 20,000. Other Deed for Other Side. Who else? Friendship Bracelets, they have 35K. I think Trump has more than 10K. How many?
45K.
45K, okay. Big baller. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more bigger collections, brands coming in with sort of scalability at mind, especially when it comes to blue chips like Bored Ape. You might not be able to afford Ape. You might not be able to afford their 3rd collection, but hey, may be able to afford their 4th collection, right? So as these keep on going up, as newcomers stop being able to afford them, it does make somewhat sense to introduce new collections, bigger supply, smaller price. So another thing I wanted to talk about in the Gen Art space is a big blockchain that's making a killer entrance. It's not completely new. It has been around for, I think, almost a year, 2 years now. It's basically Tezos. And the reason, so if we look at Tezos in terms of marketplace, its #1 marketplace is Objkt. And if we compare it to all the other marketplaces, it ranks 12th in terms of volume, and it ranks 9th in terms of the number of traders it currently has on its platform. So people who come in, buy, mint, trade, sell. And if we go on Objkt.com and we sort of see its top collections, we sort of get an understanding of what are people trading on Tezos. What are they buying? What are they selling? What are they interacting with? We can see the top collections are almost all generative art. In fact, they're all generative art. And if we look at the #1 collection, it's FxHash. It's actually not a collection. It's another marketplace that hosts a lot of upcoming drops that come into the Tezos market. And if we look at FxHash top performing art projects, they're all gen art. And this is what's absolutely mind-boggling, is Tezos is specializing itself as the #1 place for art collectors and artists to go on in the blockchain, right? So all of these collections are generative art, I think, except for Blind Gallery Club membership, which is a membership for a Gen Art Club. It's a great place also for anyone looking maybe to make some connections, to start learning more about the generative art space. It's a club I'm in. There's also, I think, Tender Pass. It's also a great, I think it's double Blind Gallery Club memberships price. Those two are definitely great places for anyone looking to maybe make an entrance, make some connections, learn from other artists, or maybe learn from other collectors. And it's also something I personally always wanted to dabble in. and try out, which is generative art. I've always been a big fan, always sort of wanted to challenge myself to try and make a generative art collection, sort of see what I could code for myself. And what's been surprising is, well, I wanted to test three things. Number one, I wanted to test the blockchain, so Tezos. I wanted to test the marketplace, FxHash, and I wanted to test the community on Tezos, right? So I wanted to test my thesis. Is it really all very generative art focused? And how does it respond to new artists? Is it only established artists that do well? I kept noticing on the upcoming drops list that a lot of drops that were doing well weren't just established artists. It was new artists with zero previous collections minting for the first time and surprisingly doing well. I wanted to test that hypothesis for myself, having always been a gen art fan and always, tried to a bit of experimentation on the side. So on New Year's, this is why it's called Firework, and inspired by fireworks, I wanted to try this out. And surprisingly, for a newcomer, for someone without previous work in the space, especially not around generative art, it did well. As you can see, it
sold out an NFT collection.
Yeah, pretty much, which is very surprising for, again, a newcomer, someone who doesn't have that many generative art connections, right? So this was, I guess, what was most surprising for me is Tezos is building a killer opportunity for, I'd say, anyone who's either an art collector or even an artist. So definitely something to check out for collectors and artists.
Up on the next point of conversation, what would you say are the top 3 things you did on your collection that pretty much allowed you to sell this out with pretty much zero marketing dollar?
Good question. I think, well, firstly, because I have noticed a lot of newcomers come in the space, a lot of newcomers, it's actually something not to do or to avoid, which is, how can I put this? Be too aggressive with their experimentation. Like a lot of newcomers, what I kept seeing is someone who just came in, has zero previous collections, zero connections, and coming in with like a 10,000 collection, each for 100 Tezos, which is almost $100, right? So obviously take risks, but collectors tend to see this as a bit off-putting, offsetting, so they tend to stray away from that. So that is number one. Number two, I'd say building real connections in the space. I started interacting with a lot of artists I genuinely felt I connected with, that I genuinely liked their art. So I started connecting with them, learning a lot more about them, collecting their artwork, the ones that I liked. And number three, connecting with collectors, right? So sharing that love of art with other collectors and slowly building, even if it's just a minuscule audience, right? Just building that small audience, that small fan base, even if it's just a couple of people. That's the difference between starting out a mint, I think, and starting out a mint with like 50 minted out of 150, right? All of a sudden, new eyes see the collection and they're like, oh shit, I need to mint now.
Right. And I think the good follow-up question to that is, so how do you build connections? So sure, number one, don't be too aggressive as a newcomer. Number two, build connections with artists. Number three, build connections with collectors. What was your process of building connections? Were you on Twitter? Were you on Discord? Were you on, calling friends and family? What was your process?
Mainly Twitter and Discord. So following artists I liked on Twitter, interacting with their posts, having post notifications on. That was always helpful. The thing with Tezos is it's still a small ecosystem that even the biggest artists on Tezos have like 5,000, 8,000 followers. So their feed isn't oversaturated with people spamming their comment section, right? So they will generally notice you, at least for now, right? We don't know how fast adoption will come to Tezos. And when it comes to Discord, again, joining groups like Blind Gallery, maybe Tender, maybe even some other Discord groups that are centered around generative art, sharing that love for art or whatever it is that you do, if it's other than art, I think really helps. It helps one build a reputation as not someone who's, just here to throw things your way and hope you're enough of a sucker to, take it in, but who's here because of genuine interest, genuine curiosity.
So you made friends at the end of the day.
Make friends, yes.
Make friends. And that was pretty much 2 weeks of work of just you being on Twitter and Discord. So in your case, the collection size was considerably small, 150 pieces. But if if your collections just happened to be 1,000 pieces, you would just do what you did 5 times more, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. And depending on price, obviously.
Very cool. Congratulations to you, buddy.
Hey man, I appreciate that. So
yes.
last thing I wanted to basically cover. I told you a lot has happened in 2023. Well, a lot of it is reporting over things that happened on 2022. There's a lot to dissect, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The last thing I wanted to pull in is a very interesting report I found, the McKinsey and Company Metaverse report. So they've recently released a report around the Metaverse and where they think the Metaverse is currently, where it's positioned, how brands are using it, and how they first see the Metaverse to be in exactly, 2030, right? The report is called Value Creation in the Metaverse. The number one thing is that by 2030, they foresee that the Metaverse will generate anywhere between $4 to $5 trillion in value across consumer and enterprise use cases. So currently in 2022, in the past year, it's been anywhere between 200 to 300 billion. And they foresee that the Metaverse will be generating anywhere between $4 to $5 trillion. I don't know how many X's that is for anyone who's quick at math. Maybe you can let me know, me and Leon know. But the main question is, why is the Metaverse so big, and why do they think it'll be even bigger in 7 years' time? Well, couple of cool facts, interesting facts is, number one, the global Google searches for Metaverse have skyrocketed 7,200% last year. Roblox has hit over 55 million daily active users in Feb of last year. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, has committed more than $10 billion into its Reality Labs division, which makes VR goggles. Microsoft planned a $69 billion acquisition of Activision, which they've said will provide the building blocks for the Metaverse. The acquisition is on pause right now. Regulators are unhappy with the merger going on, but that's an ongoing case. Gucci has had a presence across many Metaverse platforms, namely Sandbox. Nike has Nike Land and Roblox. Walmart has Walmart Land. I know, very creative. Roblox. And Wendy's has had events in Fortnite and a big presence in Horizon World. So what we're seeing is consumer interest go up, institutional interest go up, institutional investment go up, and brands coming in and experimenting as much as possible with the Metaverse. We're seeing that go up as well. Another point I found interesting in the report is they said the Metaverse isn't Web3, but it's damn close. And I guess what it means is, number one, the Metaverse is more aimed at creating this virtual VR, AR sort of reality. Web3 is more focused on decentralization, blockchain, crypto, NFTs. So there are a lot of similarities. The reason we tend to confuse them is because, well, number one, the Metaverse is what comes after the internet, mobile internet. Mark Zuckerberg has said the Metaverse will be what comes after the mobile internet. It's the next step after the mobile phone internet. And Web3, in its name, Web3 is what comes after Web2. So they're both what comes after what we currently have. So a lot of people put them in the same shell. They're not exactly the same, but it's damn close. And what I mean by that is advances from Web2 to Web3 is what gave rise to the Metaverse, right? So from everything to organizational structure, everything was centrally owned. Now everything is decentralized. There are DAOs. It's community governed. That's what the Metaverse is. It's decentralized. It's one Metaverse. It's not a bunch of little small metaverses. At least that is the goal for by 2030. Even with data, it went from being centralized to decentralized. Digital assets ownership, it went from being leased within a platform where it was purchased to being owned through non-fungible tokens, through NFTs. Even identity, it used to be in person. Now it's more through either virtual avatars that you can customize, or NFTs even are starting to act as a big form of identity. So anything that Web3 and everything, or a lot of the things that Web3 has given rise to, is the main reason we're seeing the Metaverse being shaped in the way it currently is today. Now, another thing I wanted to cover is what are people most excited about when it comes to the metaverse? I think first thing for a lot of people that might be surprising is almost 60% of people would prefer to do at least one activity virtually than physically. A lot more people than we think are actually, more inclined to want to do something virtually than physically. For example, of these 60% of people, shopping was number one. So a lot of people would rather shop online, right? People, especially after COVID, after the pandemic, a lot more people have onboarded online purchases over physical. So going physically to the store, even socializing, a lot of it has become virtual, fitness, dating, and education. So among these, there are 5 opportunities, I'd say, for the metaverse. Number one is gaming, which currently is the main developer of the metaverse. So everything we see around the metaverse right now is mainly being shaped by gaming and by games. So the biggest players are people like Roblox, Fortnite, even when it comes to Web3, Sandbox, Decentraland. They're very geared towards a gaming mindset. And I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that from now till 2030. We're also going to be seeing socializing take a big, we can see over here, all of these include some form of socializing. And it's something that people are most excited about to do in the metaverse. Actually, the most excited thing people are wanting to try in the metaverse is socializing. Second thing is traveling, which is also interesting. I think we'll also be seeing a lot more fitness products, and the fitness industry sort of marry gaming and socializing together, right? So we'll be doing fitness sort of in a game-oriented and also very socially in the metaverse. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of commerce there, a lot of brands on board the metaverse. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more meetings and a lot more classes being done virtually in the metaverse. So also a big question that the report covers is, what do senior executives think? What is their outlook on the metaverse? Interestingly, 95% of all senior executives that were surveyed expect the metaverse to have a positive impact on their industry in the coming 5 to 10 years. 61% expect it to change the way their industry currently operates. And surprisingly, the least used metaverse initiative that the senior executives have tried is allowing customers to pay with cryptocurrencies. Yet, that's what executives are most bullish about, is cryptocurrencies as a metaverse technology. So if you look at what top executives in different firms think, so what do they think are the top metaverse technologies? Cryptocurrency is number 1, AI is number 2, AR and VR number 3. We can see Web3 in number 4, and we can see NFTs in number 8. So among the 10, a lot of executives are estimating that Web3 is going to play a big role, yet a lot of them it's still under-tapped. So we're yet to see the full impact of how brands use Web3, how they use crypto, and how they use NFTs, which brings me on to my last question that I wanted to cover is, what role will Web3 and NFTs play in the metaverse? And I mainly foresee 4 industries that are majorly going to change and shift and incorporate a lot more Web3 and NFTs in the near future. So number 1 is the apparel, fashion, and luxury brands. So the fashion industry is very well positioned to shape the metaverse, as it's able to exist both in the virtual and physical world. A lot of gamers, in fact, this is a stat I wanted to put, is the gaming skins market reached $40 billion in 2020, for example. I think another stat is 75% of all gaming revenue is in-game purchases. So there's a lot of revenue to be made, and it's the perfect opportunity for the fashion industry, which is why I put this. So platform reinventions could make the metaverse the biggest growth opportunity for fashion since e-commerce. That is something that McKinsey also agrees with, which is huge to think that something is a bigger opportunity than e-commerce. Obviously, I think you might be very familiar with e-commerce. So I definitely think we'll be seeing a lot more fashion, apparel, and luxury brands on board the metaverse. So some examples of these: Decentraland's Metaverse Fashion Week was a big hit. It had brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Estee Lauder, Etro. Fashion brands are also engaging with consumers With NFTs, for either loyalty tokens, right? We're starting to see a lot of loyalty tokens, or digital twinning, which is another term for fidgetals, linking a physical item to a digital NFT. And NFTs can help battle counterfeiting by hosting information about physical or digital products' history, authenticity, and ownership. Industry number 2, I think, will be consumer packaged goods. So CPGs can explore digital assets and virtual experiences as promotional vehicles. They can also consider building virtual offerings that create long-term value independent of physical products. So one thing that's going to be hard to onboard is consumer packaged goods, because they're naturally physical. But I think a lot of what we're going to see is these brands, these big brands, try to turn what's physical into a digital experience. And this is a lot of what we've already been seeing. So Hasbro's Nerf launched virtual in-game items. Coca-Cola launched a digital jacket in Decentraland. P&G Beauty entered the Metaverse virtual storytelling world. And we're starting to see like L'Oreal filing 17 patents related to NFTs and the Metaverse. Number 3, a big one, I think, will be the financial services. Number 1, Web3 enabled Metaverse venues are becoming more and more popular among financial services, as they offer more creative models of engagement compared to the traditional Web 2. And companies are starting to explore the use of NFTs as a way to foster, again, customer loyalty. We're seeing a lot of brands play with this element of customer loyalty using NFT technology. So these are some examples. HSBC has purchased virtual land in the sandbox. Soken is building infrastructure for processing payments in the metaverse. And a lot of companies, including TerraZero, are providing back-end support for virtual real estate financing in the metaverse. And lastly is retail. I think the metaverse offers a lot of opportunity for retailers to both enhance their stores and engage with customers by building experience for them and fostering a brand community, which is something very native to NFTs, right? Community building. Just like the other 3 industries, a lot of retail companies have already started experimenting with this. And a big part of this will be metaverse malls. So malls created in the metaverse, where you go in as an avatar and you sort of go through experiences and buy things. So some examples is a lot of furniture retailers are partnering with Pinterest to use AR to see sort of how different objects and furniture would look in your house, in your room. Samsung is creating a virtual store in Decentraland and incorporating elements like quests to earn NFT badges. And Decentraland plots are being sold for the development of an online shop. So some of the buyers, Ralph Lauren, Urban Outfitter, Walmart, they've all taken already parts of this online mall, which will be sort of the mall for Decentraland. I think this will be a very interesting opportunity for the retail industry.
The 4 industries that are mainly going to benefit from the metaverse are going to be apparel, fashion and luxury, consumer packaged goods, so CPG brands, financial services, and retail. What I like about this report is that the outlook is a lot more further, is a lot more forward thinking, 5 to 10 years timeline, than, for instance, the outlook that we both studied last time from the report of Vayner3, who obviously, for those listening, Vayner3, the sister company of VaynerMedia from Gary Vaynerchuk, specifically for Web3, they had a pretty negative outlook of Web3, of Metaverse, if in 2023. So a lot of big reason for that is that the Metaverse has yet to find what they call product market fit, which makes sense. Everyone has heard about the Metaverse, but no one knows how to use the Metaverse. I think it makes sense, man, shopping in the metaverse. I personally dread furniture shopping. Hell for me is IKEA. I would not go there on a Sunday if you try to drag me there. And I would much rather do that over virtual worlds. Is that going to be in Decentraland, Sandbox, just on their website? Doesn't matter for me as long as the experience is virtual. And I think that's why you can call it metaverse. It doesn't have to be, that place where you're walking with a virtual character. So no, this makes complete sense. Really, if we are to couple those 2 research papers, Vayner3 and McKinsey, really on the short-term metaverse, we're so far, we still need to develop technology. We still need those big brands to enter the space for their investments to mature. And I think it's it's 2025 and onward where we're really going to start seeing, use cases and product market fit for the metaverse. Really at this stage, my man Kermit, thank you so much. All the value brought up, really a very interesting market update. Just to recap, Polygon is starting to see mass adoption. Generative Art has been outperforming the entire Web3 market and the S&P 500. Tezos is pretty much positioning itself as the Gen Art marketplace. So any emerging artists out there may want to take a look at either building on Tezos or learning Tezos. And finally, McKinsey and Company's Metaverse report, really bullish outlook over the future of the metaverse and all its potential use cases. Kermit, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for watching this market update. If you want to learn more how you can build the future of Web3, I'm going to be pinning another video that I think you're going to get a lot of value from right here, and I'll see you right there. Ciao.